Now, on 105.9 FM and streaming worldwide on the WMAL app, O'Connor and Company.
It's 6:07 on O'Connor and Company. Thanks for tuning in here to the first day of July. Coming up at 7:05, Maryland Delegate Mark Fisher will give you a brief on how many new taxes, new fees, new regulations you're going to have to deal with, and new bans in the state of Maryland as this July 1st triggers brand new laws going into effect. 7:35 brings us Phil Wegman, White House reporter for the Real Clear Politics website. And then at 8:05, Brad Thor on his brand new book out today. That's all coming up. It's Larry O'Connor with Julie Gunlock. Jules.
Good morning.
Were you up all night watching the vote-a-rama in the Senate over the big, beautiful bill?
I was not.
Because you're a normal human being.
No, because I knew I could just tune in here and you'd tell me what was going on.
There you go.
There you go.
One good thing happened. They had a ton of amendments, right? They made it past the first big hurdle. They decided to move now into the amendment phase and the debate phase. They had one amendment that Democrats attempted to put in that would restore funding for Planned Parenthood. Mm-hmm. At the federal level. Don't forget that whenever the chips are down and Democrats need to do something and want to achieve something, it always has to do with abortion.
Always. And
has to do with helping to prop up Planned Parenthood. That's where their power base is. It went down to defeat. You can count on Republicans for that. There was also an amendment, seems like a simple one, that would have kept illegal aliens from receiving Medicaid benefits. Let me just, explain something. You don't get free health care from the government. But if an illegal alien comes into the country, they do get free health care from the government. That's how the Democrats want this set up. And by the way, that's how you get people crawling all over themselves to come into this country.
Huge incentive.
It's enormous incentive. You come here, you get free schooling for your children, you get free health care for your family, you get free food stamps, you get all those benefits. And if you have a baby while you're here, that baby will be a citizen and will be able to bring you in eventually as a citizen as well. And you can just stay here in perpetuity. That's the setup that the Democrats have demanded. Right. And last night, with an opportunity to, at the very least, exclude illegal aliens from receiving Medicaid benefits, Republicans couldn't get it together and couldn't get enough votes. I mean, they actually got some Democrats to vote with them, but they didn't get all the Republicans in line to vote for that. And so that went down to defeat as well. So there have been plenty of others, including Wesley Hunt, congressman in Texas, who has actually now proposed a bill that would codify that notion into law and have everybody vote on that as a standalone, which I think would be incredibly informative, as well as when you hear Democrats and people in the media say, oh, these Medicaid cuts are devastating. People are going to go without. Just understand, they're talking about people who are in the country illegally. They're talking about able-bodied individuals who have every possible ability to go out and at the very least try to find a job.
With no dependents.
With no dependents. And if they can't get a job, they can volunteer. Did you know that that's one of the provisions? That at the very least, what they were trying to set up is, okay, if you can't get a job, at the very least volunteer 20 hours a week at a nonprofit or a government agency or at a church or something. And then so you at least show that you're doing something to give back to the community so that, you've earned your free health care through Medicaid. And they voted that down as well.
Because they want the society dependent.
That's
right. Absolutely want society to be dependent on the federal government.
So the latest is that they're about 19 hours into this thing. And the votes are moving faster than they had originally expected. Senate Majority Leader John Thune is working to nail down support of a few Republican senators there and 2 moderates, 3 conservatives who haven't yet said that they're going to vote for the final passage. A lot of eyes on Lisa Murkowski, who did, in fact, vote to at least move it on to this next step. But now she claims, I don't know, it's a coin flip. This is what they do. I mean, they have power, right? And they can say, you want my vote? I'm going to need this little thing and that little thing. And this is how crap gets ladled into this.
Yeah, it's perfect. Yeah.
But this is the work that we have to do. They can lose 4 votes. Excuse me, they can lose 3 votes, and they've already lost Tom Tillis and Rand Paul. So they can lose 1 more. If they lose 1 more, then J.D. Vance will have to do the tiebreaker vote. Yesterday, Elon Musk then decided to go on a jihad against anybody who was going to vote for this. He actually took to X platform and said every member of Congress who campaigned on reducing government spending and then immediately voted for the biggest debt increase in history should hang their head in shame, and they will lose their primary next year if it's the last thing I do on this earth. Well, he is expected to go to Mars soon, so just so you know. That's not necessarily a long time. Trump responded back saying that this whole thing with Musk is about the EV mandate. He said, it's ridiculous, and it was always a major part of my campaign. Electric cars are fine, but not everyone should be forced to own one. Elon may get more subsidy than any human being in history by far, and without subsidies, Elon would probably have to close up shop and head back home to South Africa. I think that's overstating the case. Also, I don't necessarily think a mandate is a subsidy. Like when I think of a subsidy, I think the government is actually writing a check to a company. But sure, if you're in the business of selling electric vehicles and you can successfully get the government to say you must buy an electric vehicle, that's a hell of a benefit. That really is.
I do. I see what Trump is doing here, but I do actually think, maybe I'm naive here, I do think that Elon Musk, I think that the reason he got involved with Doge, I think the reason that he worked so hard to get Trump elected is I think he is fundamentally worried about the debt. And I think that he, it is, I don't think it is all about the EV mandate. I think, look, I also think Elon can be a little bit naive in D.C., but I don't think it's all self-serving here. I think he is genuinely concerned for the country.
I don't think you're wrong. I also think that if he's deciding to make this sort of a fork in the road and force politicians to choose, okay, do I want to deal with a well-funded primary candidate that Elon Musk is going to throw millions of dollars into, or do I want to oppose Donald Trump and have Donald Trump recruit a primary candidate? I guess it boils down to who do you want to tick off going into your next election, Elon Musk or Donald Trump? And I think Trump wins.
I do too, and I also think that if Elon funds people to go against those who have supported this bill, I think Trump will work extra hard for those people, because I think these are two very competitive men, and I think that Trump will keep an eye on who Elon is targeting. And if he likes them, if not, God bless. Trump's like, thank you for doing my job for me. But I think there will be competition here.
Meanwhile, there's a lot of lies floating around right now, flying around, being circulated, mostly by the media, or at the very least amplified by the media, that are perpetuated by Democrats who are opposing this bill, even though there are things in this bill that Democrats historically have been in favor of. But because it's Trump and because it's Republicans, they oppose it. In a moment, we're going to help blow away a lot of those lies so that you can have facts in your back pocket. We'll get to that in a moment. First, though, it's 6:15.
WMAL, making sense of the news. Live from the Home Paramount Pest Control Studios. Home Paramount, the leader in pest control since 1939.
Everybody has their priorities, right, when it comes to the government spending, government budgets. And understand, this is not a budget bill. This is not a spending bill. This is not a deficit reduction bill. It's not a deficit expansion bill. It's not. This is a reconciliation package that is loaded up with tons of tax cuts that Donald Trump just ran on and won on. If you like your Trump presidency and you like your Republican majority, you should back this bill. I'm sorry. No Republican won election based on, deficit reduction. They won based on no tax on tips, no tax on overtime, no tax on Social Security, and keeping the Trump tax cuts from 2017. Now, you're going to hear people say, listen, if they don't pass this bill, the deficit goes down, right? The deficit hawks will say that this is, as Musk is saying, this is exploding the debt. It's exploding the debt. Well, yeah. You know why? Because if you don't pass this reconciliation package, Trump's tax cuts from 2017 get rescinded and your taxes go up. Okay? That's what they're not telling you. listen, if you don't pass this bill, at the end of the year, we're going to start reducing the deficit. Yeah, you know how? Because you're going to start spending more money on taxes. Not because they're going to cut spending. It's the tax cuts, Julie, and you might want to unmute if you want to talk to me about that.
Muted. I'm not muted.
Oh,
no,
I'm sorry.
I wasn't muted. No, it was someone else. It is a $1,700 tax hike on the average family of four.
That's right.
This is devastating. That is
right.
devastating.
If they do not pass this, forget about all the other stuff that they're going to do, cutting taxes on tips and overtime and all that stuff. If they do nothing, your taxes go up to the tune of close to $2,000 for your average family.
Yep.
So everyone who's saying, oh, gosh, I'm a deficit hawk and I want to make sure the deficit goes down. I'm with you. I hate the government spending as well. But that's not what goes into it. It's not like government spending stops or gets reduced if nothing is done. It means your taxes go up. That's number one. Number two, the so-called cuts in Medicaid are not cuts. They're reductions in the rate of increase of spending. And it mandates that people like illegal aliens don't get the benefits and able-bodied workers don't get the benefit. It brings us back to where Medicaid was pre-COVID, before they relaxed the rules. So that's ridiculous. Also, by the way, one of our listeners, Hey Mikey, on the X platform says, the tax reductions, because they focus on overtime and tips, which is generally hourly workers, the vast majority of the tax cuts actually go to the lower 80% of wage earners in this country.
Yep.
The lower 80% of wage earners who currently pay 20% of the taxes in our federal budget, they're going to get a 40% reduction in their taxes.
It is, and look, we know wages are kind of stuck where they are. Food prices have not come down. It is, for many, me included, it is impossible to think how will I be able to pay that extra nearly $2,000? But there's a lot of other stuff in this bill, Larry. I'm sorry. Besides taxes, I was just going to go through them. But you sound like you have a.
Well, I was just going to have Stephen Miller lay it out there for you. Cut 5 last night.
Spent my entire life in the conservative movement. Since I was a kid in high school, working, dreaming of the day where we could have a piece of legislation like what exists right now, Sean, what President Trump has brought to the precipice of passage. Each and every one of the individual titles in this bill would be considered one of the great achievements in the history of the conservative movement. The title, for example, building the missile defense shield for the United States of America, Sean, so we can be safe, our children can be safe from foreign adversaries in this growing era of intercontinental ballistic missiles as nations race for supremacy. The section on this bill enshrining border and homeland security, this is the most far-reaching border security proposal, homeland security proposal in my lifetime. Sean, not just my lifetime, going back to Eisenhower, going back to since we've had conversations about the border, Sean. I take this seriously. I've stood by the families whose kids have been murdered by illegal aliens. We made them a promise. Most importantly, the American people voted to fulfill that promise in the last election. This bill fulfills it. It is the largest tax cut and reform in American history. No tax on tips, no tax on Social Security, no tax on overtime, 100% expensing for new factories. Think about that. Every single business owner with a dream of manufacturing in America can deduct 100% of that cost to make the American dream come true here in the United States. Here's another one for you, Sean. The largest welfare reform in American history. Work requirements on food stamps, work requirements on Medicaid, the two largest welfare programs that exist, and now we are attaching work requirements to those programs. Orders of magnitude larger than the welfare reform that Republicans enacted into law in the 1990s.
You got to love it when Stephen Miller gets excited. He went on for another couple of minutes on that.
Can I just tell you how the first thing he talks about is how since high school, he's sort of been dreaming about this. He is the actual embodiment of Alex P. Keaton. Right. I mean, most kids in high school are dreaming about, driving fast cars and all this, and he's dreaming of the big, beautiful bill.
I believe that. And listen, and I recognize, I understand the critics of this. I do. I really do.
Of course.
This is a reconciliation package where you only need 51 votes in the Senate, and you only need a bare majority in both houses. You cram through, and everyone's like, why is it so big? Why is it because you cram through as much as you can when you don't need to hit that filibuster threshold of 60 in the Senate. That's why. And you put as much stuff in, like you said, but it blows away the deficit. There's too much spending. Great. That's fine. Tomorrow, after you pass this bill, you go to regular order, you go to the Appropriations Committee, you go to the Budget Committee, you go to Ways and Means, and you start doing it like grown-ups. Like big boys and girls, and you do it. You've got between now and the fiscal year, October 1st, to get your brand new spending package built, your brand new appropriations, your brand new budget, your brand new Ways and Means packages, your brand new tax plans. Do that now in open committee with a debate and with a discussion, and then get it done. If that's what you want to do it. The reconciliation package doesn't address all of those things that you would like addressed. That's not what this is. It's not a spending bill. That's where we are right now. And it's going to get done. It's just that there's going to be one or two senators who are going to hold the president hostage to get the vote. And I can't wait to see what they extract. It's 6:24.
Now on 105.9 FM and streaming worldwide on the WMAL app. O'Connor and Company.
6:37 on O'Connor and Company, first day of July. Thanks for tuning in here. Coming up later in the program at 7:05, Maryland Delegate Mark Fisher is going to lay out a lot of reasons why living in Maryland just became a little bit more expensive. 7:35, Phil Wegman, White House reporter for Real Clear Politics. 8:05, Brad Thor's brand new summer thriller is out this week. It's a good one. We're going to get to all that coming up in a bit. I'm Larry O'Connor with Julie Gunlock. Yeah, my life got more expensive today, Julie.
Sorry, Larry.
I'm a Marylander, and because I'm a Marylander, it means that starting today, there's a whole lot of new taxes, new fees, new regulations, new registration costs, 2 brand new income tax brackets, brought to you by the Democrats because they dominate the state. They control everything. Wes Moore, he's got a great smile and a nice shiny dome of a head. And he's an Army veteran, and he wants to be president. And he's got a magnetic smile. Have I mentioned his smile? He really has.
Certainly have.
Listen, when your life is about to be made more miserable and you're about to have to be beholden to the government that much more, it's nice, at least, that the bad news is delivered with a enigmatic, charming, bright smile. That Wes Moore has such a smile.
Kind of like a psychopath, though.
A little bit.
Smiling while he harms you.
While he robs you blind. Yeah. So where do we start? There's the tax cut. I love this. So they decided to tax tech companies. They spent the last several years, and Governor Hogan, bless his heart, he actually did bring quite a few businesses to Maryland and enticed them with special deals, special offers, and said, hey, bring your tech company here. We want to be a high-tech giant here, and he was rivaling Virginia in that regard. Although you'll remember they lost out on the Amazon expansion to Virginia, partly because, Amazon ain't stupid, and they know that where Maryland historically has always been in terms of taxes. And they were right, because if you're a tech company and you decided to go along and put yourself in Maryland, well, you're about to, starting today, pay a new 3% tax extra on the sale of any of your services. It's not a product, it's a service. It's a tech information service. This is IT. They're taxing IT. They're taxing the digital realm. This was originally going to be a 2.5% tax, only business to business. But because they had so much that they wanted to pay for in Maryland, including using your tax dollars to pay for abortions, thank you very much. If you're pregnant in Maryland, you got yourself pregnant and you want to kill the baby, and you don't have health insurance, which, by the way, I thought Obamacare was going to fix.
Yeah.
And everyone was going to have health care. But that was a lie, too, just to make everything more expensive. But if you don't have insurance and you can't afford to kill your baby, Wes Moore will kill your baby for you.
How nice.
Using my money. Thank you very much.
So going back to this tech issue, though, so there it's a tax on tech services.
Yes.
So computer services,
Yeah.
IT. Mm-hmm. So that's going to. I maybe I'm silly. I don't know much about these topics, but doesn't that seem to drive away businesses that might want to locate in Maryland?
Especially businesses that are by definition virtual. I mean, a lot of these tech services you can get from another state. The person could be living across the country and still provide those services.
Also,
let's face it, people get tech services from individuals in India right now.
Well, but isn't there like a big employer near Maryland that actually does a lot in terms of IT security? I don't know, what's that employer? Oh, right, the federal government. Seems kind of weird because they'll all go to Virginia or DC, right? Even Pennsylvania.
Yeah, that's exactly what they're going to do. And it's funny because they're saying, well, it's going to raise $483 million this year, and by next year it'll be $747 million. Want to bet? That number's going to go down drastically as businesses leave. That's what happens. And as those businesses leave, they'll take the jobs with them. So you'll have more people unemployed in Maryland, and so they won't be able to contribute to the tax base either.
And again, when we're going into a virtual world, I mean, people can be headquartered wherever.
Yep.
The taxes are favorable to them.
Cloud storage, data entry, data processing, media streaming, data storage, technical support, telephone-based recorded information services, cryptocurrency mining, news, press clipping services, media archives. You can get that stuff across. I could hire someone in Pakistan to do that for me. Why would I hire somebody in Maryland?
Yeah, I mean, it's already the most humid area of the country.
Yep.
Don't make it less attractive. What's wrong with him?
Also, if you want to drive in Maryland, your registration fees just go up. Just went up. By the way, everybody drives in Maryland, so of course.
Yeah.
But it's not just. I don't want to give Maryland a bad name. It's not just tax increases.
Too late.
It's not just paying for abortions with your tax dollars. They also love banning things.
Yes.
And in Montgomery County, it's now official. The new ban on gas-powered lawn equipment, including leaf blowers and vacuums, has officially gone into place. Now, the sales of that equipment have been banned since last July 1st, but now, starting today, you can't use them. If you use a gas-powered leaf blower...
Can you imagine the Karens calling that 800 number today? They are so excited.
My neighbor, I can hear it. My neighbor is blowing their leaves.
Driving around the neighborhood.
Hello, 911. I have an emergency.
Got one.
I have an emergency, 911. Yeah, and by the way, these are the same people who don't want the deportation of illegal immigrants because who's going to do your gardening? Well, guess what? Pedro just made Pedro's job a lot harder.
Yes.
By taking away the gas-powered. Oh, but it's okay because you can use electric-powered leaf blowers, which aren't as good, aren't as efficient, and will contribute to the brownouts and blackouts because Maryland doesn't have an electricity grid that can be relied upon.
Well
so
done,
everything's great in Maryland. We'll talk to Delegate Fisher coming up about it at 7:05. Right now, it is 6:43.
WMAL's Vince Colonnese, weekdays at noon on 105.9 WMAL, making sense of the news.
Well, we knew it was coming, but it's official now. I told you after that B-2 bombing run in Iran, the Air Force is going to hit their recruiting goals lickety-split, and it happened. Less than 2 weeks after that incredible feat, the Air Force has announced that they hit their recruiting goals. This is 3 months early. That includes the Space Force's numbers as well.
This is great.
That's every single branch of the military now hitting and now exceeding their recruiting goals for this fiscal year. They still have 3 more months to go in the fiscal year, by the way. So that's incredible. The Air Force and Space Force have contracted with around 30,000 recruits, 25,000 of whom have already begun their basic military training, according to Air Force Recruiting Service. The rest will complete basic military training by the end of September when the fiscal year comes to a close. Also, by the way, 14,000 recruits in the Air Force's delayed entry program. That's the strongest figure in the past decade, according to service officials. Air Force also has what it says is a record 750 special warfare recruits. That's exciting. And this has been replicated across the board in all branches of the military.
What's so exciting about this, too, is these are obviously young people who are inspired by what they saw with these B-2s. And the changes. Pete Hegseth, during his confirmation, rejecting the sort of pronouns and the wokeification of the military. Clearly, these kids know exactly what they're going into, and they want to be a part of that transformation. It's really exciting. I'm just shocked that, generals in skirts didn't have the same effect on young people, that we didn't see this recruitment boom after some of these generals came out wearing bizarre,
to be clear, I'm fine with
and
generals and admirals wearing skirts as long as they also don't have male genitalia under the skirt.
Yes,
that's
that
the
was
thing.
my point. But thank you for that clarification.
Women generals wearing skirts is fabulous.
Yes, that's fine. Yes,
and admirals in those navy whites, that's a good look.
That's not what I was talking about.
I just wanted to make sure. If they were excited about seeing the B-2s flying 36 hours and bombing our Iranian enemy, then they'll be really excited about the July 4th plans. This Friday, during the celebration, before the fireworks, with the entire thing out by the Ellipse and the South Lawn with President Trump and the whole family, we will also be treated over the mall by a pretty stunning flyover with an F-22, an F-35, and you guessed it, a B-2.
Oh, this is exciting. My son is very interested.
Yes.
Going into the military, particularly
he knows all
the Air Force.
Aircraft. It's amazing.
So I know where he's so funny. He goes out of the house and stands on the deck and identifies planes all the time. Well, I know where he will be on July 4th.
Yes.
Very exciting.
If you've never seen a B-2 fly over, it's spectacular. It's like Batman's flying the thing, and we're looking forward to it. Congratulations to the Air Force and the Space Force. 652.